Hello everybody, CJ Automotive Services back again with part 2 engine teardown. So we're going to start off by removing these valve covers on each side. We've got 4 8mm bolts right down the center on each one. So once we do that, we'll start getting into removing all the valve train. So we got the valve covers off and think that we found the problem, or a problem, one of the problems. Got our push rod here and our rocker is completely off the valve spring. So yeah, definitely need to tear those apart, make sure there's not any other damage on the cam or anything like that. So we're gonna now remove the rocker arm assemblies. So to do that, we're gonna remove all of these bolts right here. These are all 8mm as well. So once you remove all of these, then this should come off as an assembly on the rail. All right, after you remove all your rockers, you're gonna pull out your push rods, and then right after that, we'll remove the valley cover. So we need to remove the knock sensors right here, which is a 22mm socket, and then all these around here, which are 10mm. So on this side, this was the rocker that was all screwed up, and then this one is, oh yeah, look at that. Bent. Let's see if we can pull it out more. Look at that guy right there. Oh yeah. Yeah, if it looks like that, then it's bad. Just to show you guys, if you do plan on reusing a lot of this stuff, highly recommended to keep everything in order. So as you can see, as you're looking at the engine, this is our right side, this is our left side. So just a simple trick to make sure everything stays where it came from. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this little coolant crossover between the heads, and then we're also going to remove our camshaft position sensor oil pressure as well, and this, which I think is just a little plug. So these are 10mm, this is 10mm, and that usually is a special socket, but it's different for ours. So you'll need to get the oil pressure sending unit socket for that if that's what you do have. All right, next thing we're going to be doing is removing the heads. So normally I believe there's a plug here, but if you have this, it's 22mm. I'm just going to remove it to get to this head bolt right here. So all of these bolts down at the bottom, and also the ones here in the center of the head, are all 15mm. And then you've got 10mm bolts right here at the top. So we're not going to be reusing ours, so we're going to discard them. I wouldn't recommend reusing, but if you do, I would keep them also where they came from. All right, so one thing to note is that these bolts in the center are actually a little bit longer. These two here on the end are a little bit shorter. So if you do discard them, remember that these are the short ones here and all the rest are the long ones. Okay. It's gonna probably be some coolant. Not too much. Sometimes be careful, there might be a little bit of coolant in there that you need to try to catch with the drip pin. So after you get the heads removed, then we're gonna start working on removing these little lifter trays. These are just 10mm bolts right there. Once you get those removed, you can just lift them right out of there. Okay, after you got your lifter trays removed, here's all your lifters sitting down in there. So some of them, you may be able to just reach on there and get them out with your finger, but they can be tight. So since we are going to be replacing these, I'm not really too worried about it. I'm just going to reach down there with some pliers, get them out. That's probably how y'all are going to have to as well, if they're real stuck. So let's work on pulling those out, and then we'll move on to the next step. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to be removing the harmonic balancer. So you got a 15/16 bolt right here. So we're going to break that loose first, and then you're going to need a tool like this. Part number 67005. This is actually from O'Reilly's that you can get, and you can also rent from them. This is a harmonic balancer remover. And this actually says it's for Chrysler, but LS engines use this. So after I get this bolt off, I'll show you how to use this tool right here. Okay, so we use our little impact to remove the bolt right there. We're not going to be reusing that. We're getting a new one so you can discard it. Reason for that is we didn't have the tool to hold the back of the engine. So to actually remove it and use this tool, you're going to position this to where it's grabbing the back on the lips right there. I don't know if you can see the gaps, but it has little gaps right there on the harmonic balancer. These teeth are going to be grabbing like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start off with the longest rod, and you may end up needing to use the other rods. We don't know yet. We're going to start off with the longest rod, stick it through there, put it all the way through, and then we're going to thread it in. And what that's doing is whenever we tighten it up, it's going to be pushing and pulling at the same time. So now when you're tight, you can get you a little 3/8 ratchet or the size for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to be tightening, and while he's tightening, I'll show you how it's going to be pulling off of this. And there she is, comes right off. So now what we're gonna work on is we're gonna get our little seal puller. We're gonna pull this seal, the front seal, right off, and then we'll get our 10mm socket, and we're gonna remove the timing cover. You've got bolts all the way around it, and then you also have 2 bolts right there that you need to remove, and then this timing cover will come off. All the bolts are removed. I'm just gonna gently pry it with a screwdriver. Now that's removed, here's your timing set back here. So now we're gonna punch the seal out from the back. So we'll demonstrate how to do that. There she goes. All right, so before we can get the oil pump off, we're gonna need to flip it over and remove the oil pan. These are just a bunch of 10mm bolts all the way around it, and the oil filter if you haven't done it. Reason why is because the pickup tube connects to the bottom of the oil pump, and you've got a bolt here and a bolt way back in there. So we're gonna need to have it flipped up with the oil pan off so that we can actually access that bolt back there. All right guys, so we got 10mm bolts all the way around. Like I said, after we get this removed, we'll show you what it looks like underneath and then how to get that pickup tube off. All right, so we got a 5mm Allen wrench or hex key, whatever you want to call it. We're removing this part of the pickup tube. There is an O-ring, take note of that. Definitely replace that whenever you go to reinstall this stuff. And then we've got our 1/2 inch that's holding the other side of this pickup tube. So once this is all done, we'll remove this and start taking off the oil pump. All right, we're gonna leave it upside down like this. We're gonna take off 4 10mm bolts. The oil pump's gonna come off, and then we'll remove the timing set. All right, so we don't have tensioners, so we're just gonna remove the 10mm. This is actually the cam right behind here, so this is one of the timing gears. You're gonna remove those 3. So go ahead and demonstrate. After you remove these 3, you just slide, there's a little pin that it sits on right here. Just slide it forward. Guess it's gonna, be a pain for me. There we go.
You want Dad to do this?
Yep, please. There we go. Timing set removed. Now we're going to screw those bolts right back into here. This is the cam, and we're going to use the bolts to pull the cam out. All right, so now we have the plate that's going to hold the cam in. This is going to be 4 10mm, so he's going ahead and removing these right now. Sometimes the plate can be a little bit stuck on there. I might have to use a pry bar to get it off. It came out pretty easily there. So now we've got the all 3 of the bolts in. Then we're going to use the bolts to help wiggle the cam out. So you'll hear it, feel it, hit some spots. You kind of have to use 2 hands for this, so I'll wait for him to get back, but you're gonna have to like pry it up a little bit and kind of just wiggle it out of there. So just be careful not to yank it too hard. You will hit some spots on there, but it should come out. There we go. Just comes right out like butter. Butter with some bumps in it.
Nice.
There's the fat cam right there. So now your cam is removed. After you remove the cam, now we're gonna work on tearing all this apart. So he's already started. This is just like a little cover plate. These are 1/2-inch nuts all the way around. So we'll take this, remove it, and then we're gonna start working on the rest of this in here. All right guys, so right now we're gonna work on removing the pistons. We already have piston number 1 out because the camera died while we were doing it. So we're demonstrating number 2 right now. These are 11mm bolts. And so you're gonna remove this part of the connecting rod. And then the bearing is gonna be directly under that. As you can see here in a second. There's that. Removing our bearing. And now he's gonna use the end of a rubber mallet. You're not gonna need to do it too hard, but just barely, just to help you push it out. And the piston's gonna come through the bottom over here. And we are going in order. Cylinder 1, 2, all the way to 8. And then we're gonna place these in order, in line. So there it is, completely removed. You wanna keep that with it as well. All right, so we brought it to some light so you can see. So the reason why it's important to keep it the top end is because of the cut right here. So you have to make sure that it matches up with the same one when you put it back together, if you're not replacing it with brand new stuff. So just a little tip. All right, now we're gonna be removing the main bearing caps. You got 15mm bolts here on the ends, and then here down the middle, we have 1/2-inch bolts. And then you've got here on the sides 10mm bolts. So once you get all these out, you're gonna lift up on these, and then we'll remove the bearings straight up. Bearing is still in the cap. So that's how you're gonna work it to get it out, and then make sure your bearing is off of this. Could be still stuck on the cap. All right, before we get this last cap off, we're gonna need to remove this cover on the rear. These are just 10mm bolts all the way around. And then that'll also let us be able to remove the crankshaft as well. All right, once you've removed your back plate and all the top caps, crankshaft is ready to be removed. Wiggle, wiggle. All right, once your crankshaft's removed, we're gonna go ahead and remove these main bearings, and then we'll get all this stuff cleaned up and inspect the cylinder walls for any damage and things of that sort.
Like that.
Just like that. All right, we kind of cleaned some things up, still inspecting the cylinder walls a little bit. So we're gonna show you guys here in a minute how to measure the bore after we finish cleaning a little bit. We're gonna show you guys how to measure the bore because since we are doing piston rings, we don't know the history of the engine. We wanna make sure we get the right size first time. So stay tuned and we'll be right back with that.
All right, guys. So here I got a digital caliper. I'm going to use it to measure the bore of this, so that way we know what size piston rings we need. You can get this at Harbor Freights for really cheap, or a local parts store. The stock bore to this is 4 inches. So what you're gonna do is turn it on, you're gonna zero it out, and you're gonna make sure it's on inches, because we're gonna be measuring in inches. So all you're gonna do is roll it out. I know he's measuring upside down, but you'll see at the end. All right, so that says 3.998. We're gonna say that's 4 inches. I probably got it twisted here a little bit, and it's a Harbor Freight tool, so it might be off a little bit, but
4 inches, guys. So we got a stock bore.
that's a lot.
Oh yeah. So we do have a stock bore, which is good news for us. Easier to get some parts. So yeah, that's gonna be it. That was just a quick little trick to help you guys out if you've never done that before. If you're doing this, I would recommend doing it because you don't know the history of the engine. I mean, unless you bought it brand new or something like that, I don't know. But thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for part 3. Hopefully it'll be posted in a couple days, so we can start putting this thing back together, drop it in, bring it back to life. So like and subscribe. Stay tuned, everybody. Thanks for watching.